Greg West from Cornell's World. So how are you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
I think we're doing pretty good. Good to
No,
have you on
it's
this.
Sunday. I know I got work tomorrow, so I'm dreading.
Oh yeah, same here. Gonna be another
Yeah.
long week.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in the same boat as you, but Monday's my day off, so I'll take it tomorrow. Well, for this week anyway. I've got a rotating day off, so it's always a different day every week, and Monday's my day off this week, so I can actually go longer this time and not complain about being old and having to go to bed. I mean, I'll still complain.
Yeah. When it goes 2.5 hours, you're not gonna be as dreading it.
Oh, I'm still going to complain, but uh, nice to have you on, Greg. We don't know each other very well. Obviously, you're a really good friend of Mike, so definitely wanted to have you on, and this way I get to see who's crazy enough to actually hang out with the mustache man there. So it's nice to meet you. Happy to have you on.
I don't know. I don't know if I can hang out with him if he's gonna keep that mustache, but yeah, we've
Yeah,
hung out
that's
a few
fair.
times.
Just don't bring your kids around. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
his kids are over the age, so that doesn't matter there. uh,
Not sure what
oh,
that means, Michael.
I don't know. They're not really kids anymore.
No, no, they're old enough to cause their own trouble now.
Exactly. Now you have to worry about get them having their licenses and stuff. So,
Yeah.
alrighty. So how did that Black Friday sale go for you, Greg? Obviously, it was Black Friday, so I'm assuming you're at least a little busy. Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, we had a few sales. I was hoping for more. Um, like it's going till tomorrow anyways. But yeah, I don't know. It's been an interesting year this year. Sales have been good. It's just expenses are pretty high, and so I don't know money wise where we'll end up at the end of the year, but we're keeping busy anyway, so that's good.
Nice. So before we go too much into sales and all that, for the people, especially me and the people who don't know you too much, do you want to tell me about like what business you have, what it is that you sell? Let's just say, where are you in herpetoculture? Like, how do you fit in? Just so I have a pretty good idea, and I know of your business name and of things. I actually have some of your cages in my room right now. So just give us like a quick 5 minute intro of where you fit, what you do, and all that kind of stuff, and business wise, so people know. Like you're talking about Black Friday, but not everybody might know you.
Yep. My name's Greg West, and I'm the owner of Cornell's World. I've been doing reptile caging for a long time. Probably started in 2000. I had a job at a glass company straight out of college, and yeah, I've been doing reptile caging ever since. Started out kind of building them in a basement and transitioned to a garage, and then in 2013, actually, well, I mean, we've had a few garages depending on where we were living. And then in 2013, I pitched on Dragon's Den for my business and decided to quit my full-time job. And so, kind of from that point on, I've been doing full-time reptile caging and supplies ever since.
Awesome. And how long have you been keeping reptiles, Greg? Because obviously that probably
Um,
started before you even started the business.
Yeah, I mean, I kept them as a kid for a few years, but obviously way back then was a lot different than it was than it is now. So, and being younger, obviously not having a lot of responsibilities and knowing the proper way to keeping reptiles, it kind of was short-lived. But probably in college, I had a few, and then obviously once I started building the reptile cages, that kind of took off. So,
And how
I mean,
about now? Are you still?
probably at 25, probably about 30 years now keeping reptiles.
And just by curiosity, what does your collection look like now?
A hell of a lot bigger. Um,
Well,
but I'm trying to think back what I've had. Like, I remember when I was a kid, it was a Knowles. And then in college, I remember having mud puppies, white's tree frogs, giant day geckos, bearded dragons. Um, and I still got some of that type of stuff, but I've been getting into the monitors, and I've got a few black tree monitors now. Um, yeah, um, money affords different reptiles, and anytime I see something cool, I'm like, okay, I gotta get one of those or two of those, or yeah, like I've probably now. I haven't done a recent count, but my guess is I've got probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 animals.
Yeah,
Everything
that
from
sounds
dart
about right.
frogs to tortoises to one bearded dragon, a few ball pythons, a corn snake, some boas, the black tree monitors, green tree python. Yeah, I got a few things now.
It's a respectable number.
Yeah.
Just by curiosity, obviously you don't keep your monitors in PVC, right? Because I feel like that would be the best way. Do they scratch the crap out of it, or is it because they're black tree and their claws are small enough that it doesn't do that much damage?
I've got a big setup for them. Well, I've got two setups for them, but the big setup we went with vinyl on the inside, and I thought that would be a good idea, but hindsight being 2020 and them being monitors, I would have liked to have gone now with cork walls to just give them more climbing surfaces. But in terms of like tearing up the cage, the PVC is pretty resilient, and I haven't really noticed too much. I've seen a few gouges in the vinyl, but I actually think it's probably from like trees and the stuff inside kind of maybe falling against it and scraping. So it seems pretty good so far. I was actually talking to Ashley Dizan the other day, and I nobody had mentioned to me with them in that cage. I thought it made sense to use radiant heat panels for heating, and she had said that they need the infrared rays from the basking to digest. So I've kept the radiant heat panels in there, but added basking spots, and they seem to be liking that. So that's good.
Yeah, for sure. I think
Even us
yeah,
professionals learn something new every day.
exactly right. That's the when you keep like the rare species and that you gotta fiddle with things and figure things out. Like some stuff that only a handful of people know, like Brandon and Ashley, but but they've also kind of focused on keeping these species. So when you other people might not know because there's no actual like care sheet out there. I don't think for tree monitors. You have to really talk to people and get to know people because sometimes they don't even want to share the some of this information. But yeah, I think the heat keeping the heat panel in there is a good idea though, especially with you having them in the shop. You can always set it to more of like an ambient temperature and then
Yeah, and
have that basking
that's
spot
what
a little
we've
warmer.
done. Yeah, we've done it, keeping it in there more for the ambient temperature. But I mean, it's funny because most of the time I would recommend basking light with lizards, but in that cage, just trying to keep it nice on the inside and the heat panels being low profile, I thought that it's doing the same thing, not understanding the infrared rays. So it was interesting that after, keeping them for 5 or 6 months, nobody once had mentioned that. So it was good that I kind of got a different opinion on things to kind of do as good as I can for them. So
Yeah, they're freaking cool, honestly. Seeing them even when we were there, like back in August for WCRE, that was just awesome. Like they're a lot bigger than you'd think. Like I think I'm pretty sure black trees or blue trees are probably one of the bigger tree monitors, and just like that black look of them just coming out of the cork hollow or something, going after roaches is just pretty freaking cool.
well, just even watching them, they're so smart. Like just seeing that it's not just like a pair of dead eyes looking at you, like they're trying to assess things, and is this food or is this a threat? Is he gonna try and handle me again? Like they're processing what you're doing and keeping an eye on things. So it's they're really interesting, and they're quite active too, which is cool.
Oh yeah, I was surprised they were even out when we were there because there was like 8 or 10 of us at your shop that day, and at least one of them, I think that was a male, that was out kind of walking around and seeing what was going on. Like I was really
Yeah,
surprised because listening to other people talk about them, like Brandon, they're kind of more secretive, especially if stuff's kind of off at the shop, right?
yeah, it was funny because when we installed the lights, the male wanted to know what was going on, but did not move, did not hide, just stayed on the cork and just hung out and like watched. And so we did the first side. We'd taken the or put the divider in, and then did the light. And he wanted to kind of be out. And but even in adding the light in his cage, he didn't really flinch at all. It was surprised. I just wish I could hold them.
Have you ever
They're
tried to
they're
hold them?
so
Because I
cool, but yeah, like I can hand feed them, I can tongue feed them, but trying to get them to come out to me, they have zero interest in doing that.
because I worked with black tree monitors a good amount when I worked in the zoo prior, and I don't know. To me, as long as you held your hand like nice and up high, they would just climb on your hand and then just stay at the top as long as they had nowhere else to go. And I found it was the easiest way to just just hold it up there. They would climb up and then they would just stay there, and then you could
Mhm.
get them to calm down and keep going. But the majority of them were actually fairly tamed. But again, that was a long time ago. But
Yeah, I can get them out, but I mean, as soon as like it's basically forcing them to come out and grabbing them and then holding them, but they're gonna shit all over you and basically tear up your arm and take off at any chance that it gets. So it's a work in progress, I guess.
I'm assuming they're wild caught.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
the did you so you had the one pair, and then did you get another pair? So how many are you working
Yeah,
with
I've
the black
I've
trees?
lost the female, unfortunately, and I'm not sure what happened because I'd moved it into my office because I thought it was being stressed out with the noise and everything. And I got uh, I got another pair from Ashley at Northern Lights. So those are my newest two, and I'm keeping those together. The other two I had separated, and the intent was going to be putting them together, but unfortunately, yeah, it was weird because I had it in my office and it was starting to do really well again, and then just over the weekend, it just on Friday it disappeared. I didn't see it all Friday, but didn't think anything of it, and then I found it Monday, and it wasn't doing very well and passed on Monday, so it was pretty shitty.
Yeah, for sure. That's
But
definitely tough working with stuff like that when it's even if it's not necessarily wild caught, it might be a bit more stressed kind of from what it's used to because like they keep them semi outside and they might still get parasites and stuff because I think in some places they technically have to be captive bred in Indonesia, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're like bred inside like a pristine facility, right? So depending on
no,
how the farm breeds them, they still might be not like susceptible to parasites and whatnot, like captive animals from eating crickets and stuff. They'll get parasites, but it's definitely a bit trickier than getting something bred in Canada. So in the future, are you thinking of possibly getting some from maybe Brandon or somebody else producing black trees, just as like the
I'd like
supplement
to,
in the
yeah.
future?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really I've kind of steered away from wild caught stuff, but with the first pair, Nelson saying that he had had them for 7 months, I was a little less concerned. But in doing more research after this happened, I mean, you never know with wild caught what they're still harboring, and yeah, you could lose them at any time. So it was a little disheartening, but this new pair that I've got, they've been here for 2 years, so a little bit less worry, and they seem to be doing well. With Ashley beforehand, and then um, they seem to be doing good so far. So
Nice. Just by curiosity, so when you get them, Are you treating them at all, or because if they're wild caught, or is it because they were in the captivity already for 2 years, so you didn't treat anything? I'm just curious to know what
I
kind of the protocol is with wild caught monitors, if you should or should not.
I mean, I didn't, but it was more because they've been in captivity for so long. I guess I'd have to look into that more if that would be maybe something that should be done. Um, and again, I haven't really dealt too much. I didn't really want to deal with wild caught for those reasons, but kind of thought with them being in kind of longer term that it was less of a worry, but in talking to people that it sounds like it might not be, so it might be something to look into if I end up doing an import again. But the intent probably would be to try and get captive bred so that there's less worry with that.
Yeah, they're the blacks are definitely cool because they're honestly like I think some people put the black trees to the side as if they're not as awesome as the greens or the yellows or the blues, but they're apparently like the rarest ones. Like they're like what is it? U.S. Fish and Wildlife was trying to list blue trees on the ESA list, meaning they can't be sold across state lines, but you could gift them or whatnot. It just basically takes away their value across the U.S. But they're way like the blues and the greens are actually fairly abundant, and actually you can find greens on the island that the blues are on, just like they're kind of separate like locality. Like they're like I think even some people who've bred blues get some more greenish animals, which is kind of neat. But yeah, no, with the blacks, they're actually like the rarest locality of the green of the tree monitors, which is pretty cool. And the babies actually have like the markings of like because you see on the black on the greens and the blues, they have like their cool pattern it behind the they're green and blue, while the blacks have a pattern when they hatch out too. If anybody's ever looked up on any green tree, uh, any tree monitor breeders page, because like Brandon posts his guys hatching out, and they look freaking pretty cool.
They're getting more popular. Like I joined a page on Facebook for tree monitors, and there's quite a few people posting babies hatching right now. I was surprised. I mean, I think it's probably worldwide. I don't think it's just North America that's posting in there, but it's pretty cool to see that a lot of people are having success with them.
Oh yeah, I think I remember listening to Chris Applin, who Ashley now imports from, and he kind of helps run and breed stuff at the farm he is, I guess, a co-owner of. I want to say, but yeah, no, like they apparently like wild tree monitors have like one clutch a year, while captive ones now produce like 3, 4 clutches a year. I want to say like they produce a lot more, and they're a lot because they're fed better and whatnot, and you can
Yeah.
separate the males. Although, listen to I think a recent show he had. Like sometimes you gotta watch, or no, it was probably Brandon, you got to watch when you put the male back in because sometimes the female thinks that there's still eggs in the nest box, so she'll like fight with them kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that's like an issue in the future. Once you start getting eggs, then you got to wait like a month or two before you reintroduce, and then so you almost have to have two cages. It sounds like depending on the animal. I think some are more relaxed than others.
Yeah. Well, good thing I know a guy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's kind of
Get
cool
a few
how
extra.
Canada's. Yeah, it's kind of cool how there's a few good breeders up here in Canada that know quite a bit about tree monitors and have actually been fairly successful compared to other places in the world.
Yeah. I think the networking and that sort of thing, being able to talk to people definitely helps to see what's working for some people and what people have tried. I mean, that's kind of back in the day. I mean, it was done differently, but I mean, there was a lot more of that, conversations, teaching each other what works and what doesn't, and you know, some of that stuff obviously works in some places and not for others. So it just depends.
Oh, for sure. What else have you bred in your shop? Because I know you've bred some stuff this year in your shop. What babies have you
The
produced this year?
Gamas there seem to be the most prolific. We've had, I think, 18 of them this year. there might even be more coming because they look fat. But we keep getting eggs from our Herman's tortoises, but I don't know if the male is a dud or what. We haven't had any success. I think we got 6 eggs in the incubator, and there might be one that looks like maybe there's some life to it, but um, yeah. My shop, I mean, it isn't exactly designed for reptile keeping, considering it's a full-blown wood shop, but the hope is to down the road, hopefully sometime soon, is to try and get a new space where we can kind of separate things and kind of have a retail aspect and the animals, more of a display area. Um, but we're kind of in waiting right now to try and get out of the lease that we're in right now.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Like I like how you have it set up now because it's kind of like you got your shop where everything is. You got your dry goods that you bring to shows and sell online, but then you go up to the next level and you got all the animals kind of thing, and then you got your office, which has some cool stuff in it as well. It's kind of like a cool hangout area right now, but
It
I
is,
can
yeah.
imagine you have some good ideas for
Yeah,
the future on how you want to do it.
it's funny because that used to be a legitimate hangout area because we had a pool table there, and every Friday we'd have some drinks and hang out up there. And obviously, after having the TV show and then just me in general being a hoarder, getting more and more animals and needing more and more space, it's kind of turned into basically just my personal collection area. But with it not being kind of separated from the rest of the shop, obviously dust and noise and vibration is kind of a concern. So I'd like to separate that if we could.
Yeah, for sure. That compressor that goes off is scares the shit out of you the first time that happens.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
pretty
Dom, if
loud,
you come out in
and
August, it'll make you jump.
well, and especially because we have it surrounded by all this stuff, so you don't even know it's there, and then all of a sudden it turns on to cycle the air, and yeah, it's pretty loud.
So fair to assume that you don't keep any animals at home. Then all your animals are at the shop. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's honestly just easier, especially once you have a larger collection. I've got people to kind of help with feeding and cleaning and everything else. And the thought when I was worried about the monitors was to bring them home. And I just worried that they wouldn't get the attention here. They'd be either in the basement or somewhere that's less, I guess, like we would go to less. So I ended up putting them in my office thinking that was a better idea, but for me, it's just easier keeping everything at the shop. Other than the weekend, obviously, I'm there basically all day, so there's more monitoring activity during the week at the shop. So
Yeah, for sure. I think with it only mostly being you and the couple employees you have, I feel like it's not the worst idea having them at the shop either, right? Like if they were at home, you would have like even more people kind of, even if you had them in the living room or something, if somebody let you do that, which probably wouldn't happen, like they would
nope.
probably get a little more stressed out, right? So I think
Yeah.
being in your office where you're not like doing a whole bunch of stuff other than on the computer, I think that's probably the safest spot for them anyways.
Well, and that was the weird thing with that female because she seemed to be doing so much better. She was so skittish when we first put her in there that she just hid nonstop. Then she started coming out. Then she was out all the time. Then she was like really active. Then she started like tongue feeding again when I'd offer her feeders, and it was just so weird because she was like doing so much better in my eyes. But I mean, that's a typical reptile. They hide if there is
Did he freeze there?
actually stuff going on till kind of it's too. I think. Well,
Greg, I'm not sure you can hear us, but you're
yeah, I'm getting a
freezing up.
warning
Can
here
you hear
saying trying
Michael?
to re. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there we go. I think it's good now.
That's weird because you guys were frozen, but I was hearing you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're all good now.
We could see your lips moving, but I couldn't hear him for a good like 15 seconds. I mean, you were a good mime, but I couldn't tell what you said.
Usually that works too. Just pretend you can't hear. Yeah, I was just saying that it was weird with my monitor in my office because it seemed like it was doing so well, and you know, with reptiles in general, they hide their problems pretty well, and I think it was just too late. But yeah, it was sad because I was actually really happy because it seemed like she was doing much better, and then all of a sudden just crashed over the weekend.
Yeah, but you'll learn from it though, right? Like you already learned from Ashley what you kind of need to do next. So I think
Yeah.
I think you're in the good trajectory to do better. And
Yeah,
well,
I
think
mean,
once
I
you
don't think that had anything to do with it, but definitely if there's things that can be improved on, I definitely want to know that. I mean, I build reptile cages for a living, and I'm, a so-called expert, but that doesn't mean I know everything, and there's a lot of things that we learn every day. So,
oh yeah, for sure. Uh, Like I think every reptile keeper, even the ones that consider themselves like top of the line zookeepers that know how to breed, uh, what's something like gharials and stuff, right? There's always more to learn. There's always weird stuff you find, whether it's from scientific information or from just the average keeper, right? There's always new stuff to learn. That's why we do it. That's part of the
yep,
challenge of keeping animals, right? So yeah, it's all good stuff.
yep.
Just by curiosity, so you talk about the shop. What type of machines or what type of things you say? Because I'm pretty sure you have a CNC machine for cutting and for doing your PVC. Because I think that's probably the main of your things. But you're talking about a wood shop. So do you work with wood as well, and you work with glass from your previous experience, or kind of like what is your shop? What materials are you building with?
The majority is PVC nowadays. We do get the odd, custom glass enclosure. So we do a lot of, well, not a lot, but we do a bunch of high-end glass enclosures. So we work with glass, and usually with the glass, it makes sense for like wood cabinetry to surround it. So we've got panel saw, we've got our CNC, we've got an edge bander, routers, typical stuff that you would see at the wood shop. We don't do a lot of woodworking just because the PVC is quicker and easier, and with the CNC being automated, you're loading a sheet on and it kind of does itself. So um, we uh, we do like I grew up working with wood, so I definitely like doing the woodworking side of things. But I'm so busy now that I don't get a lot of time to do that. So most of the stuff that we do is with the PVC nowadays.
And just by curiosity, for the glass, is that more aquarium fish people, or is it still reptiles?
No, I don't really deal with aquarium stuff too much, like I can, but um, typically it's just reptile people. But what I've always said with, PVC has its place, but if you're wanting something that's a showpiece in your living room, I mean, a glass enclosure is still going to look way nicer than what a PVC would. We can modify it and do different things to make it look even nicer, but just having that full 360 or, front and sides view through glass is always going to look better than the PVC will.
I love the fan club going on in the background. There's I don't even know any of these. Like,
I think that's Jay and Chris.
is that what it is?
Jay and
Like the
Chris.
I can't even read the names. Like, what is why? Like all the letters and all that. I'm like, I don't even
Well,
know
I
what
think that's
who's talking.
I don't know. I think she's going through some email
It's
account that
basically
she has on
inside
her
jokes
phone.
from shows.
Yeah, discount.
Just doing all the trade shows that we do every year.
Yeah, how many trade shows do you do for Cornell's World?
I think this year was 10. Two in BC, two in Calgary, one in Medicine Hat, two in Edmonton, Toronto, and two in Winnipeg. I think that's 10.
You plan on ever coming to Toronto or Ottawa? I mean, Ottawa would
We
be a
we
waste of
do
your
the
time, but
we do the CRBE, but I don't like the idea of 1 day shows, honestly, especially when I have to travel so far. Um, so it kind of like want to keep to the 2 day shows and honestly want to try and limit the amount of shows we do. It's a lot of work for the logistics, like getting everything ready and having to ship and then hoping it gets there in time and then, taking up a weekend and then the hangover afterwards. So we we've done, yeah, ten was probably the most I've done. I did do probably did 12 this year, but 10 that I've ended. I was at a show in the US and then another show, not vending. So, but yeah, we did 4 weeks in a row of shows and they're all out of town. It's painful, a lot of stress and having to try and make sure things get shipped off before I'm back from the last one and getting things shipped back. And yeah, it was fun.
Oh yeah. Plus just yeah, the expenses with it and stuff. It's like people may think people make tons of money in reptiles, but there's just so much that goes into it that like you gotta hope just to kind of break even on the weekend, right? With all the flights and
Yeah.
shipping and all that.
Yeah, we've learned, to fine tune that and what works, but every show's different and whatever you've forgotten is what people are going to be looking for and there's always something, but it is definitely a risk of obviously having the exposure is good regardless of the sales at the show, but um the money's always good too. So it's the main focus is trying to sell and educate people as much as possible.
For sure. And what do you guys usually bring to the shows? Obviously, people. So people. I think people, some viewers may want to know that you can pre-order these cages. You can pre-order whatever you want on the off the Cornell's World website. If you want to, say you're in Manitoba or you're in Toronto, and for the one time a year that you're out there, you can pre-order, and he'll have everything you need kind of there. What do you guys kind of usually sell?
Depends on the shows and like for CRBE and Winnipeg specifically, we limit what we bring to just kind of our radiant heat panels and then cages, our most popular size cages and some small things, but we limit those ones. Any of the local shows we drive to, we kind of bring a larger selection. Obviously cages, lighting, supplies, heating, food. Um, we're pretty
That
much,
stupid big crate thing of cork that likes to
yeah,
get stuck on the ground.
yeah, no, we try and bring a selection of everything we sell. We're kind of basically a retail shop without the retail kind of storefront, in terms of what we carry. So for the local shows, we try and bring a selection of everything that I think would be of interest to people. But then the other shows that we travel to, we kind of limit it a little more with just key items and like the radiant heat panels and the like a 4x2x2 is obviously the most popular size. So we have that and our starter kits and kind of limit it to that. That's kind of the key to doing the pre-sales is that you can order in advance and get specifically what you want because we might not necessarily have it at the shows.
Exactly. And you might even get a discount instead of having it shipped to you too.
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. Discount?
Um, so just by curiosity, so I've got probably well, most of the company's cages in my room. So I've got, I've got your cages, Cornel's World. I've got some that I built myself. I've got First Strike. I've got Old Herp House. I've got the garbage PVC.ca cages. I've got just about every single one of them. Okay. And they're all made somewhat differently. And I've got my own opinion on each of them. Um, I'd love to hear your belief on what's different with yours and others. And I'm already looking at them, and I can already tell you there's big differences from your cages to the other. But because you're a keeper as well, like obviously you've modified cages to make it work a certain way, and I'm sure you've evolved over time. So maybe just tell me, like, if I was to tell you, like, I don't know if I want to get your cages from A, B, or from you, what would you say? Why would you say we should go with you?
one of the like the one thing that I guess piques my interest with having the CNC is being able to modify and fine tune different aspects. So obviously being able to do modular and doing different sizes, different venting options. I'd say I'm probably the most versatile in that sense with certain keepers and the way that they want things. My fronts are recessed and most of like all the cuts are all grooved, and I don't know if people have transitioned from the way they used to do things, but some, just did their pilot holes and you had to kind of self-align, whereas ours you were able to kind of it made it easier to assemble. And obviously when we're shipping flat packed, you want it as easy for the consumer as possible to build. And I've probably been around the longest in Canada, but I mean, I see a lot of things that other companies have taken, in terms of hardware or way they do things that, is something that maybe they took from me. The one thing that I really don't like, or one thing that I try and steer away from with my cages is I hate seeing the screws on the front face. So I try and limit that as much as possible. So everything's kind of from the sides and the tops and bottoms for the screws, so that those aren't noticeable. And obviously with our cages, we have the option of the different door styles where some just do the acrylic. We do acrylic and sliding glass, and we can do combinations too.
And
I'm not
have
even
your
sure what
cages
these guys are
changed?
talking about
I don't
anymore.
know, man. I'm just gonna let them go. I don't understand any of the inside jokes. Um, so let me ask it differently. I'm kind of looking for something, but you didn't quite get there. So if I look at my cages, I can tell you that my cages are essentially just a box. And every couple of years, I add this, I change this, I modify this, I add pillars, I add separators, I add vents, I add perches, I add like over the years they always change. So have your PVC cages, like what have you changed to make it better for you? Like obviously the vents, the different style doors, and anything like has anything changes compared to let's say 10 years or 20 years ago? Like things that you feel have really improved or made it better for keepers?
N Not in the sense that I've really changed things. I mean, I've changed things when people have wanted changes to be made, but um, with our designs, they've been fairly static in that sense. We've added a lot of add-on options to them, but I mean, they're still a black box realistically, and with venting and doors, they are modular. That's one thing that I'm trying to start to key in on with people is, when they get their animals at a small age and start with a small cage, that a lot of people don't realize with PVC, they can be modular, so you could add to it instead of just going upgrading to the next size. But in the sense of like what I've changed with the cages, not a whole lot. I mean, again, just seeing different things that I think will work better. I've maybe made some small tweaks, but not a lot. I'm curious what you were thinking I should be saying.
No, no, I'm
Oh,
I'm just asking, right? Because I don't know, like there's a lot of things that I use my cages and I'm like, frig man, like so I'll go through it a bit. I have no like you're not a sponsor. I'm not pro your cage or any other cages, right? So it's just I'll
Yeah,
say it like so like for example, PVC cages. I find they're cheap. The I don't know what's wrong with their PVC, but they actually warp under heat. If you put a heat pad under, mine are like up to like an inch on top where there was heat under and all this type of shit. Um, I've had good experience with First Strike. I've had good experiences with you. I loved Herp House when they existed, but that shut down a long time ago. So those are the three
yeah.
that I've used that I really like. I wish that most of them came with like top heights or top height setups. I wish most came with not big windows. I never understood why certain cages come with a 4 foot span and one gigantic window that opens up and down. I mean, it's just a disaster waiting to happen, and it's not convenient. I've always found that I tend to always add separators whenever I get those. Other things that I feel that cage makers should have are like PVC strips on top of the cage. And what I mean by that is that people tend to stack their cages, right? And if you stack your cages, you can't put a heat pack between two cages and squish it. It's much better to have airflow between them, but no cages come with like something on top to give a separator. But if you would have simply put like strips of PVC, let's say an inch wide from front to back, you put a couple of them, and this way all of them, like there's a lot of things that I feel that could be changed to make it just more reliable. Because I guarantee some people probably stack their cages and just put a heat tape right in between both and just sandwich it right there, right? And to me, that's, I don't know. There's all these little things that I've always done, or like you're talking about ways of connecting your cages. So when you're talking about modules or modular, how do you connect your cages? I'm curious because that's something I've done too, but all on my own in different ways.
Basically, like for on the website for an 8 foot or a 6 foot cage, anything over 4 feet would be two cages that are half size. And then you have two open sidewalls, and then those open sidewalls have bolt holes that you would basically bolt them together from the inside. And then they have like a C channel to cover that interior floor joint just to prevent leaks. But in the sense, I mean, that's the same way. I mean, that becomes a 4 foot being modular, but you can do it any direction too. Like you could make a 4 by 2 by 2 into a 4 by 2 by 4 with having like the opening in between the two cages. So you can make like I just posted one the other day that was they started with a 3 foot and now they've added on to it twice, so it's like a 9 foot now. So it's nice that you can upgrade versus having to like sell that cage and then get the next size up.
Do you
The
produce
one
any
thing that
type
you
of?
did mention with the warping, those cages are all 1/4 inch, so that's the biggest problem with them. So obviously as that material heats up, it softens a lot easier because it's thinner, and that's the main reason that those ones warp. Um, Thinking back, and Chris has kind of commented on this in the chat, but when I first started doing the PVC, I was using 3/8 inch. And well, it's been a long time now, but we've been using 1/2 inch for a long time now.
Sorry, I'm reading all the chat, man. They're going. I can't even catch up and listen to Greg at the same time. There's so much junk. I don't know who your fan club is, but man, they're just chatting away and I can't follow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so obviously I've never bought from for the thinner, and you're right, and that is one of the things. So do you make any of your cages where you actually bend the PVC, or are yours
We
all?
s-
He-
we did like our original cages were all bent, and the problem with that is because we're shipping all over North America is one, you have to ship it full size and it has to be assembled, and two, the odd time that you'd have damage, basically the cage was junk because it's you're not able to take it apart. So we've transitioned over the last few years that the majority is in style that's flat pack, so it's square cut edges, everything screws together, and it's just a better method. But we still do the bent edge for people who want them. It gives us a bit of versatility too. Like we've done corner cages where the fronts are bent to give you the angles that you need. So I still use that. It's just most of the time it's the flat pack cages nowadays.
Fair enough, because I
yeah, I
think I've
know.
got some of your old cages then, because mine are all bent. They're the only cages that are have the perfectly rounded fronts and back. Does that make sense? Like just the
Yeah,
quarters.
and
They're
it's funny because I really didn't want to go towards um the flat pack style. I really like the bent edges. I thought it made it look a lot better. But again, the problem is in shipping, um, especially now with the shipping companies. Like for me to ship a 4x2x2 that's assembled, I basically have to put it on a pallet. That's the most cost-effective way to ship uh, like a 4x2x2 that's assembled now versus I used to just ship them in cardboard boxes, but the costs are just too high through the couriers nowadays.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have a bunch of used Cornell's World bent cages that are fantastic. I think a couple of them were like super old and somebody probably put way too much heat on them. So like a couple of them are kind of bowing, but like they're old cages now. Like I've had them for a few years and they're fantastic otherwise. And I think the 6 footers I have, they're all perfect. Although I need to, I think I'm debating on putting a PVC panel in the middle of one of them just to make it 2 3 footers, but I don't know. I'll see. I still have some 4 footers in the garage that I haven't used yet, but I know sooner than later I'm gonna have to buy some nice brand new Cornell's World cages that I'm almost debating if I because you sell universal rock backgrounds as well, right? Or have some?
I have some, but I'm limited now. There was a company, basically I bought out everything that they had, a company getting out of it. I like the Universal Rock product, but it's super pricey, and unless you're buying like container loads of it, they don't want to give you like wholesale pricing. So I haven't got any more in because there's just not a high enough demand for the expense of bringing them in, unfortunately.
Yeah, like definitely like they'd be cool for like that living room display cage kind of thing. Like say
Yeah.
because you could even use them in fish tanks too, right? They're not just reptile specific. You could do like a desert snake, like a Transpecos rat snake or like an Angolan python or something. But you could also use it for a fish tank and put some other stuff in front of it. Like I think was it you got the water bowls too? I remember seeing in that basket and
Yeah, I've got
fake
water
logs as
bowls,
well.
I've got fake trees, I've got logs, I've got rocks, but yeah, they all integrate into either into fish tanks or terrariums and work well for both. It's just the cost is the biggest deterrent for most people, unfortunately. Dom, the one thing you were mentioning too, with spacers between the cages, one thing I've been trying to focus on with my website because uh, people like Chris in the comment section will attest to. I've got so much shit on my website that it's hard, unless you know what you're looking for, it's hard to find. But things like uh, arboreal hide hangers, um, risers for between the cages, all that stuff we do offer on our website. Again, but it's not necessarily something I'm always pushing in the sense of suggesting items, more if people are asking about them, oh yeah, I've got that and we can add that. But we do all those type of things too.
Oh, cool. I
Yeah.
probably need to do some of those because I know a lot of the guys in the U.S. and even like I think listening to podcasts with like David Brahms of is it reptileperch.com or something. He was. It almost seemed like he seemed like the starter to us of all that with the 3D printed perches for like green tree pythons that fit in tubs, as well as the ceiling hide stuff like that. I think you could honestly push more on that. Like I feel like there's obviously the newer part of the hobby which we deal with at every show, but there's also that really niche hobby that buys from Dominic and all those guys that like Dominic's a guy that'll buy 20 30 of those just for everything. So yeah, I wouldn't sleep on that either. I think that's a fantastic product.
Yeah, I've spent
Yeah.
way too much money on all shit like 3D printed just because. And the funny thing is, like, none of it comes from him. It's just like, here's what I need. Here's my bowl size. Here's the dimension I need it. I want 2 levels of perches with a bowl with a hide box, and I make people build it for me, right? Um,
Yeah.
and I find like all that kind of shit is really important. Like your old Cornell's World cages that are 4 foot by 2 but have 5 spots in them with the little doors. So
Yeah, I
I made
saw
him
what you
build.
yeah.
You
I
saw what I
saw
did?
like I saw when you posted that, and that guy, I think he's a vendor at the Toronto shows. I've
Yeah, he is.
talked to him before. But yeah, it looked
A
like a pretty cool
Theris
idea.
3D, I think, is what it is. But anyway, those are for the cages that
Yeah.
I got from you. Well, actually, didn't get them from you. Got them from somebody else who somehow shipped it from you because they're not flat pack, right? Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, do you do any 3D printing? Do you do any of that type of shit, or you're all right? Michael's laughing, so I'm gonna guess and
Um,
say no. Oh,
well, it might be about Chris's comment in the in the chat
oh,
about my
Oh,
website.
oh no,
Um,
he has like 3D printers going at his house 24/7.
yeah. I mean, I'm not at this point because everybody's doing the toys now. This year I haven't really done it at all, but I've started like getting more familiar with the designing of the 3D print stuff. So I've made some perch holders. I've made adjustable sliding vents. Um, on my list is like the perches for tubs. I just haven't got around to finding the time to like design them, but definitely having that 3D aspect definitely helps in the design, for caging in general.
nice, nice. How about rack wise? All I hear is cages. Are you doing that too, or is it?
I mean, it's funny because the kind of caging and rack world has totally flipped over the years. When I first started doing it, I was doing, I don't know, I want to say it was probably 70% racks and 30% cages. And now most people are in the caging world, and even the sizes have really increased to bare minimum to, pretty much a standard is 4x2x2, and even bigger now. We're getting a lot of requests for 5x2x3s, 8x4x4s, and it's nice to see that they're giving, well, not everybody, but there is people out there that are willing to spend the money on proper size caging and giving them, you know, the maximum that they can kind of lend space wise.
All right, so something more important. So I've built a lot of my cages. I've bought them, and like I was saying, I've built a lot of like my baby rack is. So I used to buy sheets of PVCs, and it would be the I guess everything I build, would always use half inch. So a half inch 8x4 sheet used to cost me about 110, 120. That went up to 160. Then COVID happened. And I think it's what 220, 230 bucks now for a sheet of two. I'm curious. So what have you seen? Because the materials have gone up in price so much that I'm curious, like what has that had effect on your business, and how much? Like, give me a range of what you're paying for it, give or take, because I mean that's what's going to decide really the cost of your cages, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm selling it now for 165 myself. The problem is that's a 4x8 sheet, and I get requests almost like couple times a week for people who want one or two sheets, but I've got to ship that to you on a pallet if you want it to arrive. So it's kind of cost prohibitive unless you're kind of local to me to buy it. But I bring it in now. I've got a local supplier, or I've got a company in the US that I bring basically 8 pallets at a time. I've I've done the Chinese route before and it just didn't go that well and I wasn't happy with the material. And when you go that route, you're obviously investing a lot of money and taking a chance on the quality of the material. So it's uh the suppliers that I've got now, I know I can get good quality product for a reasonable price. I'm not like I know First Strike they used to. I'm assuming they still do all their materials from China, and they must have a good supplier that they're happy with. But I just wasn't willing to do that again for the potential cost savings. But all my material has been going up over the years, especially after COVID. And like right now, I'd love to up my prices, but I also need the sales. So I'm just kind of eating that difference right now for the most part.
Yeah, for
Man, once
perspective, Or
Go for it.
your prices are low. I think I remember you saying that your prices are way lower than the American prices for the same cages.
They are, yeah. And again, I mean, probably if I was in the US, I could be charging that amount just because there's the population so much higher there that you'd get the sales. But in Canada, it's a lot harder.
I don't get how you pay 165 bucks for a 4x8 though. Like, because I'm telling you, like us,
Discount.
I guess it must be buying in bulk, right? But if I buy one sheet, last I bought it was 240, and I'm looking at Sean, that's freaking in Ottawa, and he's paying 300 bucks for a sheet, right? And I buy
Yeah,
sheets purely because I'm going to use it for modifying, for adding shelves, for doing whatever it is. I love having a sheet to buy, to build hide boxes, to build whatever I was, and then that tends to last me a year until I do all my projects and do little things like that. But it's insane. Like, I look at building, if I want to build a 4x2, it's almost cheaper to buy it from somebody and get it all pre-built, because
yeah,
at the cost that we're paying for it, it's just not worth it.
yeah. And more so that's because like I'm buying from either the manufacturer or a distributor, whereas you're buying it from a retailer that obviously is kind of doubling that markup of what they paid, and so that's part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I know, like with the if you're going to build your own perches and stuff, I think I'm actually thinking of doing this year, where because the PVC ledges and cages seem to be a bit more slippery, just because it's PVC, right? Like the material is what it is. Like I know in Trumbauer's book, he talks about building cages out of 5/8 really good wood plywood, and then you use polyurethane to seal it. So like, you can always use like thick, good quality wood, and then do several coats of polyurethane to seal it up and make it good, and then let it air out. And that gives you more of a natural look. Obviously, Greg, do you still do wood style stands and stuff, and even CNC wood stuff if people want to go that route?
We do, yeah. It's just obviously the machining, the finishing, like there's so many costs involved with doing that side of things that that stuff is pretty expensive. So we don't get as many requests. It's more the higher end builds that kind of want that sort of thing. So we don't get as many requests as we used to. PVC is just way more affordable, obviously. No finishing. It's basically, unless you're melting your cages, you don't really ever have to replace anything on them. They don't rot over time like the wood ones would do, and they're lightweight, so that's, I mean, the biggest bonuses for PVC.
Oh yeah, it's way easier to move a, a 6 foot. I can move a 6 foot 2 by 16 by myself. What and then like if that was a wood cage, it would be you'd need at least two people to move that thing
Yeah,
around, right? So yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I remember a few months ago you sent me pictures of a dart frog build, or maybe that was longer than that. But like you made like a wood stand for it, and it was like a huge. And you even make those Euro style dart frog tanks. Like how often do you get to build those? Like those are freaking cool. I didn't realize you build those till I saw your own ones with your own toads and frogs in it at the shop.
yeah. I mean, again, it's like I'd love doing that all the time, but it's just based on the requests that we get in. Nowadays, we're mostly known for the PVC stuff, so that's what I've been trying to focus on with my website lately is showcasing some of these other style builds that we've done in the past to kind of give people ideas of kind of like everything that we do um in terms of glass cages, wood cages. I mean, we used to do ton mean cages, but I like if I even got a request nowadays, I'd just be like, nah, sorry, I'm not interested. Too busy.
Can you imagine the shipping on shipping melamine cages? Holy shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and again,
Just
it
for
was
it to fall
always back
apart
then it was
eventually.
well, exactly. I mean, they're limited because they always leaked and they always absorb the moisture, and yeah, they degrade over time.
I think we've all had melamine cages in the past. So there's one thing you said. So something that I've seen done, but I can't really figure it out, is so I've done a lot of perches with just PVC pipes, and I've seen people that have like PVC printed pipes, but that they basically make it look like a piece of wood that keeps turning on itself to give like, I guess, like not adherence, but like something for the animals to grip onto, right, and all that. Do you have a way of building that, or would that just be 3D printed?
We do tons of scorched perches with PVC, so you're basically burning it, and then just the level of burn and the heating it up and softening it and then twisting it. We do tons of those. We've had a few customers send us perches that they've ordered that I really like the look of, that I'm not sure how they made, but there's a lot of different options out there nowadays with carbon fiber and just standard PVC without scorching, and then the bent. So there's lots of options there, but yeah, the 3D prints, like we do the brackets for for the perches, but obviously for doing actual full perches, you'd have to make them modular for, the length of the cages.
Yeah, because like the burn thing, I know a lot of people burn them. Just I don't know. I don't. The burnt look is fine. I just wish there was like a type of pipe that would be able to, you cut it, you put in the T junction or whatever junction you have, and keep building your own. But I don't know. Like I've been trying to rack my brain. You're talking about twisting it by heating it. Like I don't even figure out how you could do that and keep the integrity of the
You
pipe.
just use a torch, heat
Yeah,
it up, and kind of twist it a little bit, right?
Yeah,
I assume.
it would look like shit in my cages.
Eh, you never know, right? You could. I wonder if you could. Like, I'm sure Greg's probably fucked around with it a few times, but you could. And maybe if you just burnt it a little bit and didn't, you don't have to do it as extreme of a twist, but you just melt it a little bit, give it some texture. And I believe there's probably some paints out there that have a bit of texture on them, maybe, or you melt it enough and dribble some sand on it or something if you
yeah,
wanted texture, right?
yeah,
Like those are all things we can play with.
Chris is like, we had Chris do for a build. This is a ways back, but we had done with the Zoopoxy, making like PVC. It was a PVC perch to begin with, but kind of theming it out more and making it look more natural with the Zoopoxy was another way we've done it. But obviously, the cost of Zoopoxy is pretty high by comparison.
Yeah, I remember seeing some videos with Mike's monitors down in Wisconsin, and he did some like pretty fucking cool monitor cages, and even he did like a half barrel cage that he uses that shows with the Zoopoxy. But man, when you look at the price, it's like, yeah, no, never mind. I even
Yeah, like a
looking
five
for
gallon pail of the stuff is like $1,000.
holy fuck, I didn't realize it was that much. Like I thought,
Yeah,
I know
I'm
a
quoting
pond
a job
epoxy is
right now,
expensive
and
too.
I had to like inquire how much like a big container of it was, and yeah, it was like just under $1,000 plus shipping to get it. That would get you like quarter-inch thick. I can't remember. It was like 50 square feet or something like that. But
Wow,
yeah, it was crazy expensive.
that's a lot. Like obviously, it's gonna look like as long as you do it right, like it's gonna look really cool. But man, that's a lot of money. Like I know even zoos would probably be skeptical about spending that much. Like remember watching the Somervilles down in Australia. Matt Somerville's uh, wife or girlfriend, she actually at the zoo was the one that got to escape the cages, and they would just use I think some sort of cement or concrete, and then they would use I don't think it was acrylic. Maybe it was and then they painted it right. Like they would use the scaping of that, and they wouldn't even use the epoxy. But that was learned through other zookeepers and stuff. So yeah, that the zoopoxy is definitely really good for aquatic stuff. But yeah, have you guys ever
Well, the
tried doing?
Zoopoxy's
Oh
nice too because it's thin and pliable, and you can form it, whereas the concrete is, well, the biggest thing with concrete is the leaching over time, but also like the weight of it. So with PVC cages, you want to try and keep the weight down as much as possible so that you aren't putting added weight inside the enclosure, depending how it's set up. So this epoxy makes more sense, obviously, at a much higher expense.
Yeah, I remember I think tried to use grout and expansion foam to do like something in like a 10-gallon just to try it out. And yeah, that 10-gallon weighs a lot. Yeah. That's
Yeah, well,
like it
even
can
with
look
like
cool if
we
you're
do a
good,
lot of
but
stuff with the expanding foam. Yeah, the expanding foam is a good way of doing things too. That's pretty affordable, but again, it expands how it wants, and then you got to kind of form it down and carve it and do that sort of thing.
oh yeah, you guys just did a really neat expanding foam cage as well. I think you sent me a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, somebody reached out and it was really like nice and easy in the sense that he sent me a video of what I want, and it was easy to follow the video of kind of how they made it, and it turned out pretty good. Kind of
Yeah,
wanted,
I thought it looked
made me
really
want to
really
set up
solid.
one myself and get into the vampire crab game.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you did for the one show that you didn't bend, but you helped out Tony with responsible reptile
Responsible
keeping. You
reptile
set up
keeping.
like a really cool uh like little paludarium style cage when you and
Yeah.
Chris went and vended for
Yeah,
responsible reptile keeping.
the customer, I haven't seen any pictures recently, but yeah, he's got it all set up for some vampire crabs, so it's pretty cool.
All right. So let's see where do we go from here? What do you want to talk about, Michael?
Well, we could go into well, so Greg, you've worked with several more scientific kind of buyers is in and across North America as well. You don't just sell to Canada, you sell to, well, honestly, anywhere. I'm sure you could technically send stuff to Europe if you wanted to, but your main market is Canada and the US.
Yeah.
Obviously, now it's a little tougher. Like, how are things going with the tariffs and stuff, and just buyers in the US? Obviously, some buyers they'll just do and pay for everything, but obviously, it's a little tougher right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of got it figured out now, but the caging, those themselves are under, well, they're basically duty free. But it's the problem is with customs right now and just being so backlogged and not understanding what's being passed through and having issues that way. We finally started having less issues with stuff getting across and not being charged like crazy amounts for tariffs and duties. But at this point, I've kind of turned off my shipping to the US just to make it easier, um, until things kind of get sorted out. No, I'm just blind and I found an old pair of glasses so I can see.
Fucking Jay. Yeah, I remember you having some
Hey,
frustrations
Michael
because
said that
you
before.
exactly. What institutions have you worked with that you're allowed to disclose?
We've done work with Calgary Zoo, Edmonton Zoo. This year we had a project with the Kentucky Reptile Zoo, which was pretty cool. I was really hoping to actually get down there and do the install, but um, I guess funds prohibited that. Um, Petaluma Wildlife Museum, Telus World of Science in Edmonton. Those are kind of the ones that I remember. There might have been other ones. We've done a few jobs with I'm trying to think now. They're in Ontario that study the Massasauga rattlers. The name's
Uh,
I'm drawing a blank right.
Toronto Zoo, maybe. I know they are a part
No,
of it,
I
but I'm
mean,
not
I
sure if
think
that's
they
them.
had some involvement, but it's not through them. Yeah, I'd have to look, but I mean, there's been a few over the years that we've done work for. Definitely, it makes it a little easier when they know what they're needing. We've got a few projects that we've sent out to Ontario to regional parks this year, but those were bigger glass enclosures. We're working on doing one for another one right now. I'm trying to think of the name. Anyways, there's been a few parks that have some native wildlife that they have in their centers that they're looking at upgrading um, the way that they're keeping their enclosures now. So hopefully we can work with those guys in 2026.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like honestly, like hearing from other people how highly they regard the Kentucky Reptile Zoo, even and obviously the Calgary Zoo is a phenomenal facility. Uh, just hearing like Christian Wiley and Jim Henderson, I think is his name, that do the venom extraction at Kentucky Reptile Zoo. Like that's a pretty cool place to deal with because I know like they don't really take a paycheck from that job, even though they obviously deal with venom extraction and all that. So I'm sure those cages involve some different CNCing and stuff. Like how did you set up those cages and can you describe kind of like what they kind of wanted out of them?
Well, I mean, they kind of led the way on that of what they were looking for, and it wasn't much different than what I would normally do. They had some that needed rear access that were just going to be display only from the front. But then the other ones were standard, just like standard cages. We didn't leave gaps around the doors like we would typically have with our acrylic doors, but other than that, they were basically the same, just obviously with keyed locks versus access finger pulls. But other than that, they were pretty similar.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely thought it was like pretty similar, but yeah, no, that's with venomous keeping you never can be too safe kind of thing with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the one
seeing
the
seeing
one
those
thing that
Kate.
was nice with sorry, the one thing that was nice with that is as I've started to transition more into doing 3D renderings, I was able to like fully draw out exactly what they were getting so that they could kind of zoom in and out, pan around to the backs and the fronts and they knew exactly what they were exactly getting ahead of time.
Oh, the children in the chat. The children.
The
Chris should have
child
been
that's
doing this
older
one
than
with
all
me.
of us.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, what about moving forward? Where's your company going? Are you intending on just continuing to do what you're doing? Are you intending to grow storefront? Are you intending to change your cages, what they look like, go moving forward?
I mean, that's the one nice thing with going to all these different shows. Like we go to a few shows every year, every couple years in the US to see what other people are doing and getting, different ideas. Obviously with Facebook being able to see different companies and the different methods that they do for construction and design and that sort of thing, giving different ideas. That's always there and wanting to try new things. I'm looking to set up more retail space or a larger retail space and have kind of dedicated retail and then production so that it can kind of be stated. Um, I don't know. That's kind of like it's take it year by year, and every year we learn new things and try different things, and every year just a little bit, and hopefully that continues. My daughter's getting older now, and she's in school, so maybe she might start getting more involved and hopefully at some point I'll be able to retire and she can take over.
Yeah, Emma, you got to start taking over Greg's job right now. With so have you already started with a small retail space? Like I think you've have a little storage area that you've kind of converted into a
Yeah,
semi
we've kind
retail
of we got
spot.
about Yeah, we've got about 400 square feet now where we've got all our kind of key products, but um, intent would be to at some point have animals to sell as well as more like having the displays in a more retail setting and kind of separate that from and yeah, I mean this year we've introduced feeders, we've introduced the smaller retail space that we have, so hopefully expand from that moving forward.
Oh, awesome. It's always good to see people grow. Like obviously like your space has always kind of been like open upon request, but it's definitely good to see it grow because Calgary seems to be like a hot spot in the reptile hobby. Like even kind of like Edmonton where there's like multiple, right? You got one full-time reptile shop, but at one point you guys had two and you've always kind of been around. Plus you got some other big pet stores there, so and even down in Medicine Hat, like Southern Alberta in itself is a weird niche reptile hotspot in Canada.
Yeah, we've done pretty well here, but it's funny because even with the growth of my kind of retail aspect and trying to advertise more and say that we've got feeders and supplies available, like just about weekly, we have people come in that had never heard of us before, which is just crazy. Like, I think I'm pretty well known, but I mean, the hobby as like as a whole is just huge that you just don't even realize how many people are still just going to standard pet stores for all their supplies.
Exactly. Like it makes you like when you only have like for our shows are not as big as your show, but like when we have like 2 3,000 people show up and a lot of them it's and some of them it's is their first show. It's like, really? Like, you've only been going to, like, PetSmart or Petland. Obviously, Petland is a big supporter in the Alberta Reptile Show stuff, but here, we don't really have too many Petlands, and PetSmarts are still kinda everywhere. It's people just slowly hearing through the grapevine that there's actually, like, a real community to join, and it's not just them and their couple reptiles in their house kinda thing.
Well, and it's funny because when I got started getting into reptiles in college, before the cages even started, I had bought a reptile from Petland, and it was a wild caught. Trying to think what it was. Forest, not a forest dragon. Can't remember. There, can't even think of the name now. It wasn't a water dragon, but anyways, it was wild caught and freshly imported, and the week before it died. But in getting that one, it kind of like reinvigorated the wanting reptiles. So I started getting some more, and I just happened to be driving one day, and there was a sign on the side of the road about a reptile expo, and I was on my way to work, but I was like, ah, I gotta stop at this. I gotta see what this is all about. So that kind of started the kind of the addiction, and then obviously as I got into that, and those were like twice a year, I think, even back then. So then when got my job at the glass company, then I decided that I would start building cages and try to sell at these shows, and that was kind of the start of Cornell's world.
Which show was that? Was that the Calgary or was that Edmonton?
Yeah, it would have been a Terra show back, like I'm assuming probably around 2000. Might have been 99 or 98, I don't remember, but somewhere around there. But yeah, the shows were way smaller back then.
Before I was alive.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy
that's
when you think
surprising.
back of how things were. Like I remember I was about, I don't know, maybe 16, so many years back, and I saw an ad in the newspaper because back then we had newspapers, and it just said like Little Reptile Zoo and blah blah blah, and I ended up volunteering there, which was Little Ray's Reptile Zoo, and I've told my story a couple of times, but and I've been volunteering there for a couple of months and all that, and at that point I had no reptiles. I was 16, 15, whatever, living at my parents' place, and then all of a sudden another employee there is like, you can have an animal like that at home. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you can keep a snake in your house. And I'm like, people sell snakes? and I was volunteering in a tiny little reptile zoo. And back then, it was freaking tiny. And she's like, "Yeah, like there's this dog place that sells snakes." And my first place I ever went to was because I don't remember seeing any in the PetSmarts, which is what we would have had around our place. But it was literally my first snake that I bought was in French. It's Le Salon du Chien Plus, which basically means, the room for the dogs is what the pet store was called. And this little place in the back right corner sold snakes. And I bought my first few snakes there, and that's everything. But if you're starting and you don't know that you can buy snakes or you can buy reptiles somewhere else than PetSmart or the big retail box store, you have no idea, man. You're completely disconnected and you don't realize that it exists out there, right? So I feel like everybody's got to get out of there. And once you
Yeah.
figure out that you don't need to go to PetSmart to buy everything that's overpriced, like, I don't know, it takes a while to get out of there.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Well, and for anybody going to a reptile show for the first time that have only ever gone to a pet store, a pet store might have four or five different types of animals asked. And then you go into this show that's like 20,000 square feet of like all these different reptiles. It's just like it's insane how there could be this many available and all these different types and species and morphs and everything else that you would see at a reptile show. Uh, I don't know if Michael told you, but myself and Tyrone from Canadian Mouse Man like have a couple shows, and obviously that's what we're trying to focus on is into the reptile shows before and introduce them kind of to this addiction that we all call a hobby or a business.
Yeah, I was gonna pivot to that because we were talking about that. But yeah, so what shows do you and Tyrone run? Like, where are they and when are they, kind of thing? And how long have you been doing it?
We've got the I started with somebody else, the Western Canadian 2010 Red Deer with another company was putting on shows and then they weren't able to, and so we started to um, put on the shows there. And then after COVID, we had one show, and then the building was gonna basically be renovated, so we decided to move it to Calgary.
Uh,
So we've got now
uh,
two shows in Calgary and one in Medicine Hat,
uh,
Canada. I think the
I'm gonna have to
venue's
stop you for a second because
45,000 square feet.
you,
The in
I'm
Western
not sure if you can hear us, but you keep blocking out, so I'm missing the whole conversation here.
yeah,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, there we go. Maybe just restart from how, like, when did you guys when did you kind of become a part of the show, and then yeah, how did it start with Tyrone, and then obviously to now? We heard some of it, but
Well, I started, I think it was 2000, I think in 2010 is when we started, maybe a bit earlier than that, in Red Deer. And then in 2020, I'm trying to think,
was it
I can't
3 that
remember
you
when COVID
started
was kind of
in the spring?
over. Sorry?
Probably 2022, right? For the fall, for the August one,
Yeah, I
right?
think 2022 we did our we had 2 years of not doing shows in Red Deer. We did one show in Red Deer and then they were renovating the building. So we moved the main show to Calgary. And we do that one in August every year in Calgary. We have one in Medicine Hat, which is a smaller one in July. Um, and then we've now added a spring show this year, and we'll be doing it again next year, which that show was actually really crazy. It was so busy. He's not wrong.
That's kind of funny. So I love that you do shows, and obviously the only show to me that's worthwhile for where I'm from is the shows in Toronto, which is run by, I guess, Grant Crossman, that's been doing it for about as long as I can remember. I actually remember going to shows when they were run from this little building. Frig man, there was 20. I think I'm trying to think of how the first show. I don't know if you've ever been to. It was probably about 25 years ago. It was like it was in just an old, like it almost looked like a military building. It was tiny. But the funny thing, the reason I bring that is that in Ottawa, and Ottawa is still a million people. Like it's still probably comparable to Calgary. Actually, I think it's bigger than Calgary, right? And we still don't have a real show here. Like we have a pet show that is run again by Grant, but there's more cats and everything, and there'll be maybe 15 tables of reptiles. And honestly, it's not worth going. Like it's there's going to be a couple of all the typical basic animals and not much more worth than that. Even Montreal has, every time I've gone to the Montreal shows, it's like, yeah, it's not really worth it. And I wish that somebody would take over this area. Like Toronto is taken care of, and Toronto, there's almost too many shows. Like there's a show once a month. I don't get
Every
how
month.
people can go to a show once a month. It to me, it's too much. That's why I only go for once a year. But I wish like the Quebec side, Montreal, Ottawa would have like somebody who would decide to take it over and have like real reptile shows here. It'd be pretty cool because the population's there. When you think about it, if you guys are able to do it down west, I don't see why it couldn't be done on this side.
It can be. It's just obviously it's a risk for whoever does it to put it on, and a financial risk to put it on if it doesn't pan out. And yeah, I mean, we took the risk with doing our shows, and luckily they've paid off. But every show is you always wonder how it's going to do. We've been growing out here. The shows like the pop or the patrons coming through the doors are increasing, but obviously that takes the expense of advertising to really get the word out. But like when I think about like the Comic Con in Calgary, they get 100,000 or more. Like it's crazy that in a population of I don't know, I think we're like 1.2 or 1.3 million in Calgary, that we can't get 10,000 people through the door. So it's surprising, but it's the interest is there if somebody were willing to put it on. It's just taking that risk, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and proper advertising as well, right? Like
Yeah.
I know with our show we advertised, but I think we had a advertising mishap the last show. I don't know if that affected the attendance. Well, the attendance was a little less, but I don't know if that was the reason, right? Like obviously stuff's down now too, but like the BC show should as well be like we should be able to at least get the same amount as you guys, and I think we have a higher population, but our show is also more out of the city than Calgary. Calgary is you can get everywhere kind of within 45 minutes ish, especially on the weekend. While Vancouver, going from North Van to Abbotsford, that could be an hour and a half if there's an accident kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so we have to deal with that having our show further out from the city. But yeah, no, having the shows is tough, especially you got you got to spend money to make money with advertising, but then how much do you spend for like because how many main people are coming that just know your show's going to kind of be like then, and you're going to get the bulk of your same attendees every show, and then you're just trying to get those couple more that you're spending the money for. But right, like you and Tyrone are putting out the work. Like I know Ty in Medicine Hat gets as much advertising out as he can through even just local mom and pop shops that aren't even related to reptiles, just to get the people out. And Medicine Hat's tiny compared to our areas.
Yeah. Yeah, the like I mean, pretty much nowadays we're spending just as much on advertising as we are on the venue. Like it's crazy how much we have to spend to get the exposure.
So just by curiosity, so as the one who hosts the show, if you turn a profit, usually is it the vendors that the money from the vendors, or the money from people coming in for like the admission that pretty much makes you break even or makes you break a profit? Which one brings in more?
Well, we try and break even with the vendors, but typically we're not even break even before the doors open. But usually we make a bit of money for with the patrons coming through the door, is kind of hopefully the how we make our money.
Yeah, because I've often tried to I've often tried to calculate the amount of money that is made through a show. And sometimes, like, I realize a smaller show, I don't think there's a lot of money made, but the bigger show, like the Canadian Reptile Breeders Expo, when I talk to people and they tell me the price of the table, like the $500 price tag on the table, and you look at the amount of tables, you look at the
Oh,
amount of
it's
people,
more than that.
and oh, is it? Well, how much is it? 800 for a table?
I think it's 7
Well,
without
Seven.
a table.
it's funny because I think the prices came down because the last time I did it, I want to say was 2015 or 2016, and I swear I paid like $1,100. But
Holy,
this past
holy
year,
You might,
shit!
somewhere around
did you
that.
have did you have two tables though?
No, it was just one.
Damn. Because anyway,
One
so my
like a 10 by
brain,
10 booth space.
yeah, my brain often goes to those kind of things, right? I'm looking at all the tables that's there. I'm looking at, like, and you start calculating in your head and you're like, holy shit, like we're in the like 60, $80,000. And by the time you start looking at all the animal show, you look at the bird show, you look at the aquariums, you look at all this, it's like an insane. I realized that he must pay a rental fee crazy for the weekend, right? All that kind of stuff. And I realize that's a big cost, but the amount of people walking through those doors, like, I don't know, man, I'm just seeing like dollar signs going like this in his pocket.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible, a show that big, that, and I realize you need to build it up to get there, but man, that must be profitable. Like, those gigantic shows are
Yeah,
insane.
like his show is definitely on than where we're at. We're not making that kind of money. We're making like spending money type profits, but I mean he's built up a good brand and has good shows out there, but there is definitely a high expense to put those shows on as well and a lot of people.
So how many tables are you guys usually doing for the, I think it's the Western, help me out there.
Western Canadian
WC.
Reptile Expo,
There you go. So how many tables of
WCRE.
reptiles?
Um we've introduced booths now, like and Grant does that. Like CRB now is all booths. Um I know for the spring show we're at about 150 kind of spots. No, that seems high. About 120 spots. And we're probably about 200, close to 200 at the summer show.
That's pretty good. That's probably bigger than most of the little monthly shows, because the monthly shows in Toronto are maybe 100, maybe 125. Like, to me, they're not
Yeah,
worth
and that's
going.
like the difference though is I mean he's putting those shows on every month, and whereas in Calgary we have a couple shows a year and that's it. Like you get a spring and a fall and a summer. That's kind of it. Obviously there's more like Edmonton, Abbotsford, all these other ones that we do kind of usually it's kind of like a spring and a fall and that's it. So there is a higher demand to come to these shows, than you'd get going to the monthly shows because for the monthly shows if you got something better to do you're going to do that because why not? You can go to the show next month.
Exactly. And like with the fall and spring shows, like people like me and Jay will wait till the spring to kind of okay, well we got to get this stuff from Greg this show because he's coming this weekend, so we're going to spend money, which helps
Yeah,
you, right? Like it helps you cover that weekend plus kind of what you would be making anyways if you didn't come to the show. But it helps, and
exactly.
it helps save the customers too, right? We don't have to necessarily either pay shipping or we pay less shipping for the show
Yeah.
weekend. Then it makes it worth it for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and the
personally
shows are
don't.
great. Like, go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just gonna say the biggest thing with the shows is just, I mean, sales aside, is just the exposure too. I mean, like I said earlier, just the amount of people that don't even know you exist because they've never been to a show or, are new to reptiles is pretty crazy.
Yeah, fair enough. I've never liked the idea of the whole monthly show thing. I think it's just it's a way of making something not interesting anymore, right? Like and that's why I've always only gone to the Breeders Expo show because it's the big show where everybody goes, everybody's there. You've got all your friends that show up, and you've got a lot more tables that makes it worth the travel, right? It makes it worth doing a weekend out of it if you can. And I
Yeah.
kind of feel like doing monthly shows is a mistake. And if you guys do it twice, three, four times a year, even four times a year, is that how often you guys are doing it? Because that's still reasonable.
We do two, and then we do the one in Medicine Hat, which is like 3 hours away, so it's kind of its own thing.
So people won't miss the show, right? Because if they miss it, there's none for another 6 months. I feel like
Exactly.
if there was a
Yeah.
show around my place once every 6 months, I guarantee you I would always be there. Like guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah, this person, I mean, has hit the nail on the head. Monthly shows would be too much. The novelty would wear off too quickly, and which is exactly right. And I know that like some of those breeders for ball pythons at the Toronto shows, I mean, they basically have to just, at some point just cut their losses and take, whatever they're being offered for people buying because those people are the same people that come every month and give me a better deal. And if they aren't willing to give a better deal, well, let's see in a month if you want to make a better deal because you're still going to have it then. So
yeah,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you look at the comments saying that the WCRE is bigger than the monthly shows in Toronto, and I believe it because again, the monthly shows when you're going every month, less people go to it, and a lot of vendors skip a couple of shows or just go to the one big show, right? Which, if you're only doing a show once every 6 months, if you're a vendor, you're going to want to be there. So I just,
well,
I don't
and
know, maybe
part of
go.
it too is
Yeah.
is the animals. Like typically you're breeding in spring, you're going to have babies in fall. So fall's going to be your better show in terms of animal selection. Obviously, for importers or bigger breeders, they've always got stuff, but fall was always the big show, and then spring is kind of the stuff that people had left over that they're trying to sell, and maybe some other stuff, but like those two seasons kind of work for shows, not every month.
Exactly. And I know a couple of years ago with our show, like they were actually pretty good. Like we had our best shows ever 1.5, 2 years ago, post COVID. Like wasn't necessarily the one straight after COVID, but a couple shows in, they were like we had the most amount of people. The club was able to make the most amount from the show and save that, and so we could use it for possible legislation stuff. And I'm sure the same was. So how was your guys? Is like around that same? Oh, you guys were at all the shows. Were your guys' shows kind of similar, where they've kind of slowed down a touch, but not necessarily due to anything but the economy, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, this year the spring show for us was like unexpected. We decided to throw it, and it was over at Easter weekend, Easter long weekend in a new venue, so we didn't know how it would do. And I mean, you could barely move in the venue. It was so packed, and the the turnout was so good. And then we thought the summer would be the same, and the summer's in a different location, and it's kind of outside of the city a little bit. And we didn't get the turnout that we wanted, but I mean, our numbers have been good year over year and are steadily climbing. So, I mean, we're happy with what we're seeing.
Are you guys doing only captive bred, or do you captive bred and Walcott
We do
at the
both,
shows?
but if it is wild caught, it's got to be labeled. There's the Edmonton Society. They only allow captive bred, or at least it has to be long-term captive to be able to sell. But yeah, we're less restrictive that way. Just we want to make sure that people are aware if they are imported animals, that they are labeled as such.
And
Yeah, ours is the same with the fact that you gotta label them and they have to be captive. They have to be in the country for at least 6 weeks. I want to say, but we're also gonna look over them. Like if they look like dog shit, like they can't be
Yeah.
out. Like there's with
Yeah,
animal
that's
rights
one thing
organizations around,
which
you
is
can't have that on the
funny
table.
out east. Like it's something that we thought should be done, and most of the shows out here kind of do is vet inspections. Like in Toronto, they don't do that at all. But they don't, I mean, to be fair, they don't do that at the American
I'm the
shows either.
vet.
I think I missed what you said there, Michael.
I at our shows sometimes I have to be the vet if we don't get a vet. Because BC is tough because we don't have many vets, and then some like most of them don't want to come out, or they're either the vets that would come out, they just don't have time to. So like us as a club have to be the vet. So we gotta check and make sure the animals are healthy, the right size. We also have size requirements. Like you can't bring like a fucking newborn crested gecko to the show and sell it. It has to be at least a good size. Same with bearded dragons; they have to be a good size. Like they have to be well started. They got to be like within reason, but they got to be
And who
ready
makes
for a
those
new home
rules?
kind of thing.
Like, is it
We do.
okay?
We have like we have a set of rules that the vendors agree to when they agree to vendor shows.
And when you say we, who do you mean by we, Mike?
The BC Reptile Club.
Gotcha. So going back to Greg, just by curiosity, am I back on or my mic button disappeared? You guys can hear me? Okay. Where the heck was I going? So when you pick your vendors, do you ever what's a better way of saying it? Do you ever are you ever selective? Are you ever like, you know what, like when there's 80% ball python and crested geckos, let's just say, or whatever it is, and you're like, okay, two of those ball pythons left. I'm not letting other ball pythons come in. I want to get a colubrid guy. I want to get a monitor guy, things like that. Do you ever start selecting at one point to try to diversify, or do you have that ability to turn down people, or are you like asking them, hey, what are you selling? Are you a
We
fudge store?
we
Are you
we
selling
yeah,
candy?
ask. We ask, but the funny thing is with the ball python community is they just want to be at the show. Like I don't want to have a show where it is all ball pythons. Um, and obviously that's a large selection of most shows these days because it's the most popular reptile right now. But we haven't got to the point where we've had to limit animals per se, but we do have to do that with
Think I've lost you
like
again.
3D print toys and like those other type of things. We have to limit, like we won't invite certain vendors back if we've had issues, but we haven't had to limit. Um, ball pythons is the best example just because there's so many of them that vend. Um, but we haven't got to the point yet where we've got such a high demand that we can be more restrictive. So we've kind of let it go, but it's getting close to the point where we would have to start.
Because
Yeah,
I
I think
feel like
we're at the same level as well, where we're like full basically, but we could in the future kind of get a bit more selective with who we let in. Like we already kind of try to limit, like if they've been a bad vendor in the past, we try to get rid of them. But if like in the future, if there's too many 3D printed people, like Greg said, or like not to be like there are some great ball python people. We have some ball python vendors that are there every week, every show. Fantastic animals on the table. Like there's nothing wrong with what they have on the table. So we want them to be there, but we also want kind of variety to be there. But sometimes they also weed themselves out them as well. Where like a couple sometimes you lose some ball python vendors due to various things. Maybe they're getting out of the hobby or whatever. But that also helps make room for other vendors in the future.
Yeah, I
I
was
think
gonna
the
say the
vendors are growing now where there is more diverse with vendors, and it'll get to the point where we can start limiting some of that. But um, I mean, I think that's at every show nowadays that the biggest complaint is going to be, there's tons of ball pythons or leopard geckos or crested geckos. But to be fair, if those vendors want to be there, have as much variety as possible. But those vendors with more variety are more limited, so it's harder to get those people to come to the shows.
and what are the main vendors? Because you're like saying leopard geckos, and it's funny because every show I go to now, I might see one table of leopard gecko now. And leopard geckos
Yeah,
used to be everywhere, right?
Yeah,
There's
and
really
I think
not
it's the
that
same
many
here
anymore.
too, honestly.
Yeah, there's really not a lot of leopard geckos. If you look at crested geckos, there's
Yeah,
always
lots
a
of cresteds.
couple. There's a couple. There's more. But even bearded dragons, I don't think there's that many anymore. Like ball pythons, there is a lot of ball pythons, but not as much as there used to be. It's definitely gone down. Like I'd say easily half the show is ball pythons, but there was a time where it was much more than half the tables.
yeah, it's kind of weeded itself out. And I mean, it was when ball pythons started getting super popular and there was all these morphs. I mean, not that it was a pyramid scheme, but I mean, people just saw the dollar signs and everybody wanted to be a breeder. But being a breeder and being able to be successful and turning a profit, like not just losing money year over year, there's few and far between that were able to do that. So I mean, for a while you were getting everybody and their dog was a breeder and wanting to sell their babies, but they weeded themselves out pretty quick. So it's definitely not as bad as it used to be. Ball pythons, like the fad of ball pythons has really continued a lot longer than just about any other like species at all, because uh like everything seemed to go in waves. Like I can think of shows where, three or four vendors had bearded dragons, or it was leopard geckos, or it was crested geckos, and it seemed to go in waves. Like now, like you're lucky if you see a bearded dragon person has some.
I think you're
Ye-
Ball pythons have continued.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, Greg, you're we're losing your voice a bit here.
I think we got the
Yeah.
majority of it.
Basically, ball pythons have
Oh,
lasted a lot longer than I think would at the level that they have, but all the other ones seem to go in waves where like one or two shows you'll have like a large selection of, say, bearded dragons or leopard geckos or crested geckos, and it's ball pythons have continued, but it's definitely not as high as it used to be, but there still is the largest majority in the show.
oh yeah, I agree. Like same with our show, right? Like honestly, with us, it's we definitely have a few ball python guys, and then we have a few crested gecko people. But then the rest is pretty variety. Honestly, you got the 3D printed people there too, right? Taken up, but the rest is kind of varied between
Yeah.
people with just multiple things, or maybe they have a few gargoyles, a few cresteds, and then some snakes, kind of things, plants, which like our thing, our shows have a few more plants, kind of thing. But like your show has a few main plant vendors, even some non-reptile people, like woodworking stuff that has reptiles, and even you bring some stuff in for the kids, like what is it? You guys have like a oh, you guys also bring the non for profit that has like a sloth there that people can kind of interact with and take pictures with, and as well as some other animals.
Yeah, the wildlife festival. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the big thing is to try and get people uh to these shows. Is, what's going to attract them, especially a lot of these shows, a lot of the people coming through the doors are small families, and mom's looking for something for the kids to do on the weekend, and so having some of that other stuff kind of adds a draw. The plants are an apt tie-in, and that's been growing like with the shows in general. But maybe the parents are into plants but not into reptiles, but it gives them something to see and do it while at the shows too.
Yeah, I think every show now in Toronto has a plant expo tied to it. And the funny thing is, most of the shows that I go to, the only thing I do is I buy a plant because this way it gives me something to bring the
Yeah,
wife when I get home, right? So it's always the big joke
yeah,
is I go to a reptile show and I always bring, a nice like colored monstera or some climbing plant shit that I love plants. But it's the one thing that I tend to always purchase, and it definitely does work. Like I could see it tied in. But what I like is when you go to a show and you'll have like one vendor of ants, one vendor of all arachnids, one vendor of crabs, and all these they're weird, they're different, they don't really fit in, but it works, right? I think it's cool to have that because it gives a little bit of an aspect of a different avenue of like keeping, even though it's not reptiles. I think it's kind of cool. I like that idea. Um, I'm just I wish there was more diversity. And that being said, I actually would be okay with more flipper tables, like more wild caught tables, because there used to be a lot, and now I think our shows have gone captive bred only, um, which I don't think they're all captive bred, but they're all portrayed as captive bred. I don't know. It was kind of cool when you had those tables that were not captive bred that you would be like, I've never seen that before. Or, this is weird. What the heck is that? And that's kind of disappeared from our end.
I mean,
Well,
it has out here in a sense too, but the problem with the cap or sorry, the wild caught stuff is you get the people because they're cheaper. They like a lot of the people that come into these shows are beginners in a sense, like they're very limited knowledge and those cool animals, it's few and far between people that should actually be buying those animals and taking on the responsibility and trying to raise them properly. I mean, at the shows, like there's so many kids that, the parents gave them $50 and they're just willing to buy anything and don't don't realize the responsibility of like what the animal needs, how long it's going to live for, what it also needs to like live and survive. So I don't mind not seeing as many of the wild caught tables, but I mean, diversity wise, obviously, it would be nice to see some of that. But there's there's less people that should be an appeal to versus like the price of the animals because they're wild caught.
yeah, like I honestly feel like wild caught tables should be more for the breeder in terms of those animals should serve a purpose instead of just being for the
Yeah,
general pet trade. Like I get having a variety, but I think like wild caught or even imported stuff from Indonesia should be more in South America. Should be more for somebody who's actually going to go and try to reproduce that animal rather than just going into the pet trade, right? Because those, depending on
yeah,
they're buying, like they might as well just get a corn snake or a ball python instead of a candoya or some sort of Indonesian animal, right? Like they'd be better off with that. It's probably gonna live for them 20 years instead of maybe having some parasite and dying sooner. Although like a captive bred animal could have a parasite as well and could die soon too, but you're more likely to be successful with a captive bred animal.
Yeah, I
But
agree with you.
wild caught serves a purpose as well.
It's funny because I've always thought of reptile shows as more usually the people that have kept a lot of animals are more like the reptile keeper than just the average. I'm just walking in and only have a bearded dragon at home, but you're probably right. Maybe it's not the best place for that. Just as a
Yeah,
small note, oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, like I've been Tyrone's table, and we definitely have a lot of newer keepers. Like we sell probably 10, 15 leopard geckos a show just to either brand new keepers or people who have a leopard gecko or a corn snake already. But there's a lot of new keepers that show up to like the shows that we vend, kind of thing. There's a lot of repeat keepers, but there is lots of new keepers as well, and they might be tempted with like a lower price kind of thing. But at least now, like a lower priced animal is a pretty high quality animal. Like for $150, you can get a fantastic looking leopard gecko or a corn snake, right? 20 years ago, that animal cost way more money, but now for a very reasonable price, you can buy a fantastic captive bred animal that's a really good pet for a kid or a family that's looking for their first reptile.
Yeah, I like the comment that what a terrible freezer people. Is there a his name's Freezer? Is there like an actual reason
That's
behind that?
Chris.
All right. Well, anyway,
Yeah.
Chris. I don't get his name, but there must be an inside joke behind there.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with his comment. He says, as a similar, more specialist vendor, it is also hard to justify the expense of a show when their general interest isn't as big. So like I kind of like I've always debated on whether to do this show, right? And I would be exactly that. I'd be more of a specialist vendor into my time. I've never seen a Morelia table ever at a Toronto Reptile Show, ever. And think about it. There's never been one. Okay, there's never been somebody just selling that. And would I do well? Honestly, I don't think I would. I don't think I'd sell very well. And then the amount of money you'd have to spend to attend that show for what? To get more, like for me, there's no point in advertising myself. I already sell all my animals every year. So really, I'm kind of at the point where I've always felt like there's probably a lot of people that would love to do those shows, but to get those type of people that have all these weird species, you know, like the person that would specialize in Europlatus, the person that would specialize in, I don't know, blue iguanas, whatever you want to pick your species, right? Most of those people, because they're so specialized, I know I said blue iguana, which one I was thinking, what's that pretty blue iguana?
That is a Lewis
That
are a
is,
thing,
there you
but
go.
I don't think there's too many in Canada. But they're pretty fucking cool.
But anybody that's specialized, right? Usually you don't need to go to a reptile show, right? Because you could just sell online, and if somebody wants your shit or is looking for that, they're gonna go directly to you because there's only 1, 2, 3 people, right? So I don't know, I find that prevents the specialist vendors from going to the show because there's just no worth it. And I've thought about so many times of vending a show. I've never been able to see a benefit, and all I can see is just a financial loss every single time. I've never done it because of it.
You just gotta come and
If
hang out with the people
if
for
you
the
don't
for the
have to
night.
do the shows, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
if you're selling your animals and not having to worry, the people who do the shows are the ones that have problems selling their animals. So getting that number of people at potentially in front of your table makes sense of trying to make sales. But if you can sell your animals every year, obviously you're doing it at a more hobbyist level. I wish I could do less shows, but if like for me it's a necessary evil of doing the shows and getting the exposure and like selling cages and supplies while I'm at the show. um if I was doing every weekend when I'm not open, if I was doing the numbers I did at a show, I wouldn't do any shows. But it's kind of a necessary evil. But yeah, if you've got the demand high enough that you're moving your animals without having to do the shows, like do the shows, but do them for fun, not vending. I'd rather
yeah, I
not
think
if I
that's the
didn't have to.
difference. I think it's the difference between doing it as a hobby on the side and you don't really care about making money, right? Like I don't care about making money off my animals. I like to sell my animals to buy other animals that are way more expensive that I don't need. That's what
Yeah.
my reptile money goes for, right? Is this I buy this to buy more expensive animals to eventually breed them to buy more expensive animals, and the money just gets recycled continuously.
Yep.
But if it's your career, if it's your livelihood, right, you almost don't have a choice. I look at it and I'm like, I can't even imagine the pain in the ass of having to pack for a show, having to pack all those animals, of having to travel, having to set up all that kind of stuff, man. I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, man. Like the amount of work on a vendor to set up your
Oh
booth, your
yeah.
table. Oh my God. Like to me, it's just like, I don't know. And I get it. I'd love to go for a weekend. I've never done a weekend of it just because my kids are finally getting older that I probably could now. But like I'd love to go and party. Like next time you guys are there, I might make it a weekend, actually get a hotel room, and I'll drink with you guys that time. But I've never done it. For me, it's always been like I drive to Toronto, I leave at 4 in the morning, I get there at 9. We spend 3, 4 hours there, just like last time Michael was there. And then at the end, around like noon, 1, I drive back and I come back to Ottawa and it's a $50 day. You know, like it cost me
Yeah.
nothing. I just went there and I had fun and chatted.
Dragged your
So
child out of bed.
That's one bottle of booze on a weekend of many for us.
yeah, I did bring my child there. And keep in mind, my child is basically Michael's age. But anyway, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, yeah.
But he
Probably
doesn't have a
doesn't have the
mustache like
mustache
that.
though.
Shave this off mid-show.
You should. Is this a Movember thing or?
I don't know. I decided to grow it for November. It's coming off after the show, no matter what.
Oh, beautiful. Uh, I don't know what that is. What do you mean by we're 15 minutes behind?
Well, I think Chris is delayed on how he's watching. You gotta scrub forward sometimes.
Oh, I got it.
He's replying to stuff that we said like 10 minutes ago, I think. Yeah.
All
We
right.
can let him figure it out in the future.
What do you? Where do you want to go?
He's responding to your freezer people comment.
Oh, I got it. Do you want to go somewhere else with the conversation, Michael? We're already at 2 hours. If there any other subject, you know Greg much better than me, that you think we should go down?
I'm not sure. Like
Or
there's tons we can go around, but is there any animals that like you want to keep like in the future? Like what do you want to work with soon? Like that no money kind of thing. Like what do you want to work with in the future? Because
that's
I know some
possibly
people
attainable.
care like they see you more as like a business person, but I honestly see you nerd out about stuff like the black trees and that. So what do you actually want to keep, or do you have what you really like?
I think my interests change as I see new things and see other people's collections. But right now it's the monitors, and I've still got a pair of monkey tails that I'd like to get babies out of, but my shop isn't conducive really for the breeding side of things, and I'm not trying to actively breed anything. Like we've had the painted agamas, we've had a few dart frogs that have survived their like morphing and that in their tanks, like not taking uh, the eggs out or anything, but um, I think we need a different kind of layout and different setup to actually try to do that. But you know, as the hobby grows and I see more and more, obviously something will probably pique my interest again. Um, but I've had some pretty. I mean, I've been lucky because honestly, for me, the animal side of things is a hobby, but the business side of things lends me the ability to kind of write off all these expenses of animals and setups. So, I mean, it's forever changing based on my interests. So,
For sure. And you got a new expense this year. You got a nice show truck. Are we gonna see that next year at the WCRE?
yeah, that's the hope is that I've got a whiskey barrel to try and make a cage out of to see if we can make it that I'm happy with it, and then the hope is to fill the back with cages. And the summer show we're allowed to have it in the venue, and then the spring show we'll have it just on display kind of outside so there'd be no animals in it. So we'll see. I've got to get my act together and start trying to plan. It's the truck is tucked away in my garage for now, but I'm trying to slowly do a few things to it.
Tucked away in that very tight garage. I can't believe
Oh
you fit
God.
it in there.
Yeah, well, it's on roller wheels now, pushed against the wall, so there is actually some room. But yeah, there's not much room at all.
We gotta. That means I get to drive your truck out next show.
Probably. Somebody's gonna have to.
are you talking about like a cube van here or a panel van or?
No, it's like a 1950s rat rod that like a 1950s truck that's all patinaed, and so I've put Cornell's World like logo on the doors, had a guy hand paint them, and it's gonna kind of be the show truck. And it'd be cool to be able to do some deliveries in the summer with that truck.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I can't wait to see it in
Very
person.
cool.
I'm gonna book my tickets for spring WCRE here in the next couple weeks, I think, and
Yeah.
book the hotel as well. That should be fun. Hopefully, it's nice enough in spring to bring it out. Hopefully, it's not fucking snowing in April.
Well, there's always that risk. Especially we've
For
had
sure.
a pretty mild like fall, so could be that it delays winter for us, so I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah. Worst case, it'll be out in August, so we'll get to see it
Yeah.
then too. Yeah, Dominic, you gotta come out to WCRE and just hang out for the weekend, even if you don't van. You just drag the family out. You tell them to go to Banff, and you just stay in Calgary.
Well, number one, we did Banff like a year and a half ago, so that's not going to happen. But
You
I
could send
do
them
it.
to Drumheller instead.
No, I just leave the family here. The wife would have zero interest in going back and going to reptile show, like nothing at all. But I would do the whole just going to Calgary for a weekend or thing like that. If you guys find me a place to sleep, a bed to sleep on, I could probably make it work.
I'm sure we can. That's the one thing that we've had from a lot of our East vendors is that like our shows are a way different vibe than they are out East. Obviously, we're just a bunch of dumbasses, so we like to have fun, and that kind of translates into the show a little bit as well, and kind of the after show on the Friday, Saturday. So it's definitely if you can make it out, I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
always get either rent a car or go hang out at the zoo, but you can also just hang out at the show and hang out with us afterwards. We always go for dinner and kind of make a good evening out of it. And it's a fun weekend, right? If you arrive early, like Thursday, Friday, we kind of hang out at Greg's shop and whatnot. Like I think I'll probably fly in Thursday, some point, probably Uber to Greg's shop and go hang out and help him prep for the show, kind of thing. But obviously, you're not obliged to. No, nobody's obliged to do anything. It's a fun weekend, and it's
yeah,
always good to hang out with some good friends like Tyrone and his family will come out, and then obviously everybody else with WCRE. Like we got Aaron and Savannah in the chat as well. Yeah, like it's a fun weekend. Like there's lots of people there, but since you're not tied to anybody, you could fuck off and go to the Calgary Zoo or something and go hang out and go see reptiles there too, right? Like there's actually a lot to do in Calgary, and
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. So yeah, and we got
yeah.
good you got good food vendors there too.
I went to Calgary the last time, and I'll be honest, we did the airport. We got there, went to eat some food, and then just drove to Banff and spent 10 days doing the whole Banff thing and all that. It was actually, I'll be honest, I freaking loved it. It was beautiful. Went during COVID, everything was empty. There was nobody anywhere. You would go to any of the nice lakes, any of the glaciers, anywhere you would go was completely empty, which everybody told us it was horrible. You go to Lake Louise and there's like thousands of people everywhere. We would go there. It was just a ghost town. There was no one anywhere. So I personally loved it. Um, but yeah, I'd be down to doing it. Next time you guys do the next big show, the one that's worth it, talk to me about it. I might figure out because planes aren't that
Oh,
expensive, man. It's like
or
450
they're both
bucks.
worth it.
No.
We got one in
Yeah.
April and you got one in August, so it's whichever one you want to go to, kind of thing. I know I'm going to both.
The August is the big one, but the April one's pretty good too.
All right. Well, we'll chat later. I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll go. The airport doesn't count. Yeah, I know the airport doesn't
Yeah.
count, but
Oh yeah. Well, Greg's like 5 minutes from the airport, so his shop's not too far of an Uber away.
fair enough. All right.
Figure it out.
What do you think, Michael? Are we going to close it out, or you want to chat about something else?
Yeah, I think we can close it out. Greg has work tomorrow because he has to sleep in. He doesn't show up to work early like us.
All right. Well, Greg, I
Ouch.
appreciate you.
Well, I stay late though.
There you go.
Well, thanks for having me on. It was fun, and we'll save some for the next time we can do it again.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on for sure. Do you want to plug any of your info for anybody that's on here that doesn't know how to get a hold of you?
Yeah, cornelsworld.com is the website, and then all our socials are just Facebook.com/Cornell's World. Same thing for Instagram. We don't really do Twitter, but those are the two main ones.
I don't think Twitter's existed in a while, isn't it? X now. Side comment.
Whatever. Showing my age.
Michael Gillian on Facebook, right? Anything else you want to plug in there, Mike?
No. Like I got a pair of Kentucky Pines still available if you want to receive in the new year kind of thing after the holidays. And I also probably have a couple female Transpagos rat snakes, Wild Rose Pass locality, that'll be available as well. If you want to hit me up on Instagram or Facebook, you can do that. But otherwise, yeah. Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate it, buddy. It's always good to talk to you.
I like it for myself. It's
you have to get Tyrone and Chris on here.
Yeah, maybe do a round table.
Is Tyrone even on?
People.
I was bugging Hendrix. Hendrix said he was on here, but I don't know if he was. I didn't see a comment.
Yeah, so we could do it. Eh? You know what? We should do that one day. Just have like 5 or 6 Canadian guys on and just do the Canadian show. You know what I mean? Like just have a couple of people just to shoot the shit and make it like a freaking drinking game one night. We talk.
Oh yeah.
We talk about it. We make a rule at the start of the show and just be like the. I don't know if you guys are up to it, but I do that. Like you tell me which night we're doing it. I'm calling in sick the next day, and we do a show with a drinking game for it. I think it'd be fun.
Maybe on my birthday in 2 weeks.
You're turning 18 or 19?
24. Still pretty young. We can send Tyrone some vodka and orange juice and get her going.
Man, I wish I was still
or we
24.
just all fly out.
All right. So again, Greg, thanks you for coming on. For myself, Dominic Cabin on Facebook, Dom's Reptiles Instagram, domsreptiles.com website. I have 3 inlands left for sale, 2 jungles left for sale, and I'm officially going to be putting my pygmy pythons for sale. I have 4 babies that have had over 30 meals eating on their own. I think I'm comfortable selling them now. So pygmy pythons, something that I've never sold before because I've never been sure enough that they were ready to go. But I think 30 meals I think they're established now. Except for that, guys, everybody on the chat, thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. I love how lively it is. Obviously, that was probably all thanks to Greg's fan club. To everybody, thanks for watching. Click the little buttons, subscribe. Thanks everybody. Thanks, Greg, for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.